All right, today I'm going to be covering how to build a six-figure business using the MLS. All I'm going to be asking for is participation. So, as I'm going in and presenting this today, I'm going to be asking for you guys just to put your answers and responses in the comment section. So, please feel free, ask me questions. Let's make this interactive. And if you guys are ready to get some value, let's just jump right into it. All right. So first off, if you are here, it's probably because you're working hard and maybe not seeing the results, or you're just looking for some value today. And I want to be very clear that this is not about working harder. The problem actually for most people is not effort that they put in, it's the systems that they're using or lack of systems that they don't have. So just by show of comments here, put the number 2 in the comments if you have a system, put the number 3 in the comments if you don't. 2 in the comments if you have a system, 3 in the comments if you don't. Cool. We got some people using systems. I like that. All right. So let's talk about that. First off, most people with MLS access still don't control their deal flow. In fact, that's probably one of the most concerning things that I see in business today. When I see people that don't have consistent control of the deal flow and they don't have consistent inbound deal opportunities, 9 times out of 10, it's not because of missing information. It's actually just from lack of a system. It's lack of a process. It's lack of knowing what you're doing. And I actually see the comment that just popped up, guilty of winging it way too often. That's what I see all day, every day. In fact, that's how most people start inside of my community. It's that they're winging it and trying to figure out how to have control of the deal flow rather than guessing and having what this emotional roller coaster is, which could be a deal every now and then. A lot of us here could probably be very vulnerable today and say, that's actually me. I'm closing a deal this month, but I have nothing in the pipeline for the next 2 to 3 months. I have something closing last month, but I didn't have anything set up to close this month. And not only is that inconsistent and uncontrollable, these are things that start to lead to you having a very expensive hobby rather than a business that produces actual revenue and opportunities daily. And so, what does that mean? Well, first off, almost everyone here has MLS access, but very few people have predictable deal flow. And so, I want to just talk about that really quick because there might be a few people here that are not licensed agents that say, Ryan, I don't have MLS access. You do. One, you have access to a realtor that has access to the MLS that could get you set up on searches. They could save it for you. They could send it to you. You could partner up and work on their MLS. You could get different softwares, systems that might have MLS tools and resources. There's too many to count on this call. Or if you are a licensed realtor, I'm even more specifically talking about you. So, what does it really mean when I say very few people have predictable deal flow? Well, let's get right to the juice. The MLS is not a lead source. Okay. I'm coming out like firing today. Like, if I'm just like hitting you in the heart, I'm sorry. I love you. I care about you. And you might have heard me say a variation of this before. So, I want to make sure I'm clear on what it means. When I say the MLS is not a lead source, let's first define what a lead is. A lead to realtors is typically an inbound cold resource that turns into a prospect. So that would mean a buyer or a seller. A lead for a real estate investor is not just an address, it's typically going to have motivation tied to it. So the MLS is actually one of the systems. The MLS is a data source. The MLS is not a lead source. So if you're a realtor and you've been guilty of the whole, I need more leads because you need buyers and sellers, the MLS is not the lead source. The MLS is one of the tools that we use that's actually a data source every single day. And if I just made sense there, put the number 4 in the comments. If I did not make sense and you want me to reiterate that, put the number 5. 4 if that makes sense. 5 if you're like, whoa, I don't get it. Cool. We're all following along. So I just mentioned the MLS is a data system. Over the last 90 days, I've actually been tracking data not just with my team, but with a bunch of people in the community that I'm a part of that is not just doing MLS. This is specifically for people that are going off market direct to seller, possibly doing a joint venture structure, working directly with real estate agents to get off market deals, or the MLS. So I pulled together a room. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. It was only 20 people, but it's 20 people that all made over 6 figures last year. And I asked every single one of them if they'd feel comfortable sharing with me what their numbers looked like so I could actually bring it to this call to provide value for you guys. And so I'll start on the right hand side with the chart. This is for people that have a system. This is for everybody that I interviewed that was making over $100,000 a year. This is actually a pretty fun graph to talk about, not just because I believe the MLS is the best place to start, but because the MLS has the most opportunity if you know how to use the data in the system. So, out of the people I interviewed, most of them that were making over $100,000 a year off market were averaging between 1 to 2 deals per month. It's not a bad business model. You obviously make a little bit more money going off market depending on your strategy and how you're marketing. The fun part here is that the average person was spending a minimum of $5,000 per month. Direct to agent, on the other hand, was averaging between 2 to 4 transactions per month with a very minimal overhead of usually about $500 to $1,000. Direct to agent is still technically off market, but these realtors are unpredictable. And that's not what we're talking about today. I want this to be a predictable system, predictable deal flow, so you don't have to worry about where the next opportunity is coming from. And of the ones I interviewed, bless their hearts, I love them so much. The MLS has so much opportunity that most of them are averaging between 5 to 7 deals per month. So technically, this chart should be at the six mark, not seven, but you get the point. 5 to 7 deals per month. In fact, that's actually exactly where I'm at, is 5 to 7 deals per month. And the way that we've done this is by understanding that the MLS is not a lead source. The MLS is the data system that we use every single day. And so, with the MLS being a data system, what does it do for us with the data? First off, it tracks the trends. Second off, it reveals patterns. This is typically buying and selling signals. Three, it creates leverage for my business and opportunity rather than those two other strategies on the right hand side, off market and direct to agent. There are variables that are out of my control. There's a whole different lever I have to pull, which is finding motivation before I even go and find a potential deal. So when I'm looking for motivation with other strategies, the MLS's leverage is that there's actually already motivation there because they're listing it for sale, which then leads to me producing relationships, which lead to opportunities. And that allows consistency rather than uncertainty. Consistency for me is not just going out there and saying, I know I'm going to get a deal this month. It's knowing that I only have to send a certain amount of offers to get a deal under contract, and then tracking contracts to close, conversations to contract, so on and so forth. And so when you take all of these things, it actually becomes a predictable system because I'm using the data to my advantage. If I'm hitting like some light bulb moments with you, put the 5 in the comments. If this is like, okay, I see it, I'm starting to get the light bulb flickering a little bit, put the number 5 in the comments if this is like making sense and you're ready to go into the next step. All right, so let's talk about guessing versus a system. Guessing requires a lot of luck. It also requires a lot of mental strength. And these are some of the characteristics and traits and just common occurrences I see with guessing. We see a lot of people scrolling through the MLS, just kind of hoping they come across a deal. They don't really know what they're looking at, so it's more reactionary than it is logic and analytical thinking. There's a lot of emotional offers because you just need to hit a certain amount of offers in a day, is what you feel. So you're not taking educated guesses. You're just throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what sticks. You're typically unorganized, which is fine. It just doesn't lead to certainty and consistency. And because of that, there is no predictability with the lack of consistency. That's the guessing side. The system side, the stuff that we do, and I'm not just going to talk about the traits here. This is systems like a CRM. This is us coding the MLS to be able to have predictable opportunities in front of me rather than guessing every day what the best ones are to write offers on. And so the way I do that is through filters on the MLS inside of my cheat sheet, criteria being dialed in from buy boxes with the people I sell deals to, having repeatable decisions, not just myself, but my team. So we're not all over the place. We're all on the same page, which leads to a lot more organization and then predictable outcomes, like I just mentioned. I know how many offers it takes to get a deal. I know how many conversations my team needs to have in a day to ideally get close to a contract a day. And while I want to get up here and tell you I've got it all figured out, I just have the MLS figured out. I don't have the direct to seller side figured out. I never figured it out. What I was able to do on the MLS was be able to determine predictable outcomes from my input and output every day. I created a system and structure for my team and organization that leads to us contracting about a deal every other day. In fact, yesterday I just got one under contract that was at 850,000 on the MLS. I got it at 760. 1.5% commission on that's 11,600. And then I wholesaled it from 760 to 770, making a $10,000 assignment. That one transaction brought in $21,600 and it closes next Thursday. Those are the things that I have predictability with my team. And the best part of all is that I spent $0 to get that deal. So let me just be clear here. If this is like a jab, let's soften it a little bit. Most people here are not failing, they're just guessing, and that's okay. Guessing feels like progress for a lot of us until months go by. And so that's where I've noticed that not only lack of progress, but the lack of a system and a process is what usually makes people fall behind. And I'll get into a few other thoughts here in just a minute. But if you feel like you could be vulnerable here in the chat, if you feel like you're guessing, put the number 6 in the comments. If you feel like you're guessing and you don't have a plan, put the number 6 in the comments. Completely understand. I've been in that same position plenty of times. And the way that you get to the next level is by asking for help. The way you get to the next level is by starting somewhere and getting 2% better every single day. It's by going and taking the action and the accountability and being vulnerable, like those of you in the chat right there, that could just say, I need a little bit of help. I feel like I'm guessing, and I know what the writing on the wall looks like, that if progress isn't made today, tomorrow is not guaranteed. And that's the last thing I want. The number one rule of small business that we talk about in my community is staying in business, meaning that you don't go break the bank. You don't go take unnecessary risks. You take opportunity when it's given to you and you count your blessings that it doesn't require a lot of money while using the MLS as your data system. And so, for those of you taking notes, taking screenshots, nudge, nudge, this might be the slide to do so. Consistent MLS deals come from 3 specific things. So, for those of you that are trying to get MLS deals today, these are the 3 things that I 100% think that you need to be able to go and do. Number 1, knowing what listings matter. If you notice I'm saying the same things over and over, it might be because it's really important. And these might be things that I've heard over the years that are consistently popping up that people are struggling with. So, I made a webinar on it so you guys could understand and get some value from it today. Number 1, knowing what listings matter, not guessing every day. And if you don't know what I mean by not guessing, there's a whole other side of things in this business, starting in the real estate investing school and overview to my agent investors being a step-by-step blueprint. Not guessing every day starts with having a plan, starts with having a system or trying your best to create one and building it as you go. It's having clear criteria that tells you what to act on and what to ignore. One of the biggest issues I see with people in the MLS is that their VAs, their acquisition managers bring deals that are just absolutely in no way, shape, or form a deal to the table. They go out there and they're trying to get properties under contract that are already renovated. They take their time to go write offers and try to build relationships with a deal that's listed above ARV. Believe it or not, there are deals on the MLS in every single market that are listed below ARV. And that's one thing I actually teach pretty often in agent investors is that realtors are good at ARV. So the ones that listed above it, you shouldn't want to work with and waste your time and guess. The ones that are listed at or slightly below where ARV is are usually the starting point to tipping the iceberg of what to go and write offers on. And so knowing why they matter is the second piece. If you understand the motivation signs, the patterns, the timing, the data, maybe you're using the MLS cheat sheet we have, these things all combined together are what create opportunities for you to stop guessing. So knowing why they matter starts to instill the confidence, and then every offer is intentional, not hopeful. If you feel like every day you're sending offers guessing, you feel like you're trying to build relationships not knowing what to say, it's probably not only very difficult, it's probably pretty lonely because there's a lot of days that if the uncertainty starts to pile on, you start to create these doubts and limiting beliefs, this analysis paralysis, the fear of the unknown, or whatever you want to call it, that are just really excuses. And it's because we just don't have a plan and a system in place. And so the third thing we do in order to get consistent MLS deals on the daily basis, or every other day, or once a week even, is having a repeatable way to act. I just talked about like creating structure and creating routine. This means you have the same inputs. This means that you have the same decisions every day. This means you have the same process regardless of the market for those of you that are doing multiple, and you're building a repeatable process that is not luck. You know, I can't tell you how many times in my career I've had people try to instill doubt on my business model of saying there's no deals on the MLS, buyers won't buy them, and blah, blah, blah. And then also followed up by saying, well, there's just no way he's going to keep doing it. It's all luck. At a certain point, if you continuously do it over and over and over, it's not luck, it's skill. And if you do enough volume, volume negates luck. So then the only thing left to do is create a process, create a system, and ideally copy and paste one that's already working. And so again, I'll just leave this up for one more second. If you want to take a screenshot, take photos, this would be the page to do so. And Mark, I see that comment. Guessing wastes a lot of time. You have no idea. It's a lot of time. And most of us here don't have time to waste. And so when these three things exist, deals stop feeling lucky. When they don't, everything feels random. So when you have those three things exist that we just talked about, deals are not luck. They are skill. They are predictable. And I don't want to use the word easy, but forgive me if I'm saying something that just strikes you in the wrong way. They are easier than the other approaches. And when you don't have those three things in order, those three things being knowing what listings matter and which ones to write offers on, knowing why they matter and why you're writing offers on them, and having a repeatable process, way to act, and system, yeah, everything feels random, feels unorganized. It feels very chaotic and it feels like you're stressing. And I cannot tell you how many times I've been there. When I first started doing real estate, just to be vulnerable with you guys, to this day, I still wear a lot of black. But when I was really like, I again, just be vulnerable with you guys. When I was in debt, when I had maxed out credit cards going in direct to seller, when I was investing into every mentorship and guru out there, I couldn't wear white shirts because every day I was stressing so much, I was sweating. I felt like I was freaking out. I felt like I didn't have a plan and I was playing from behind the eight ball. Every day it was like, where is my opportunity going to come from? Is it going to be today that I get a deal or is it going to be tomorrow? And I found myself relying on things that were not controllable. I was praying, I was trying to journal, I was trying to do other things that weren't actually work related. And it just wasn't a process. It was literally just throwing a dart blind at a board and hoping I was even on the right field. That's not a plan. And so that's where I was. And so I had to start somewhere. For those of you that know my story, it wasn't like I'm some evil genius by any means. I ran out of money. So when I ran out of money in marketing, I went to the MLS because I didn't have a plan. And the MLS, at least I found that they weren't cussing me out like off market direct to seller. They weren't telling me, no, I'm not interested in selling because it was listed for sale. It was just a lot of, no, I'm not interested in your offer. And so I refined the process and started to build as we go, which led to me getting better every single day. Speaking of vulnerability and transparency, I did a full on training inside my agent investors community last week where every single year I break down my numbers, I share tax returns if they want to see them, I show all of my deals and examples because I believe transparency is king. So I'm not going to go into the full presentation today on all the different KPIs and metrics and things that were extremely valuable because that's in agent investors. But what I am going to do is share with you guys the same slide that had my entire results from last year. And so when you guys see this, let me just be very clear. This is me as the disposition guy, part time. This is my acquisition manager, Brandon Powell, who's been with me now for 5 years, and one VA named Kobe. He did really well last year, as you could probably assume. And so I want to be very transparent about my numbers. Last year, we did 64 transactions, averaging out $13,500 per deal, and that was $864,000 in wholesale. Representing myself and the strategies that I teach realtors to do, I also got paid commission on 21 of those deals on an average of $6,700 per deal in commission, on average 1.5% of like 400 something thousand dollar purchase price. Please note, I'm not showing properties. I'm not a realtor. I'm not bowing down to clients. I'm sitting here with my hat on backwards, most of the time doing calls like this with my community. I'm spending a lot of time with my wife and our dogs, and I'm really just enjoying life. And I spend most of my free time either watching sports and spending time with my community members. They need help. I'm answering questions for them. I'm guiding them. And so I want to just show you guys the real truth here that 21 deals, to make sure it's not all that like sexy sounding, 33% of my transactions, I get paid a commission. So it's not every deal I walk away making money on the deal, making commission on the deal. Let me make sure that makes sense. So 21 of the transactions, 33% of the deals we did last year, I brought in an extra $142,000 in commission. And then while I want to tell you I'm like the world's best flipper, I lost a lot of money in 2022. And so now I am not a primary fix and flipper. I'm a wholesaler, a real estate agent, and an investor. And I flip a couple houses a year. My goal last year was 4. I missed out on that goal, but we only did 2 flips and I averaged 80K per flip, which I'm happy to share the addresses with if you guys want to see them. And so on those two flips, we made $80,000 each, which was 160,000 in flips. That brought my grand total to 1.16 million last year in revenue. This isn't sales volume. This is take home. This is money my team made. And the best part of all, which I wasn't even planning to share this today, was we spent less than $15,000 on our business last year. So you could do the math. You can fully understand why it is that I like this business model. My biggest problem is figuring out how to offset taxes. It's not about finding the next deal. In fact, I just shared with you guys a few minutes ago about how we just did a deal yesterday that's bringing in another $30,000. Those are the types of transactions, or 20 grand, whatever it was, that we do consistently day in and day out. Those are the deals that I like to share where I get paid commission as well as an assignment fee. And that's not accounting for any price reduction or price improvement that we could get during our inspection period. We have buyers that are depositing earnest money today. It's a done deal. It's a lock. And so this is not my community numbers. This is not sales volume. This is my team's take home. This is my team's transaction. Me, one VA, one acquisition manager. Shout out to my guy, Brandon. He's a beast. And Brian, I see your comment. Brandon is the man. He runs a coaching call inside of Agent Investors once a week on Mondays. So if people wanted to see transparency from my team, they could also get it there. So this is our numbers. Any questions on it, happy to answer them. Feel free to throw them in the comments. I just thought it'd be nice to be a little transparent and vulnerable with you guys so you guys could see what last year looked like.